Okay, so for those of you currently in the tablet market trying to choose between the all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 and the all-new Apple iPad Air 5, I have an analogy that will help you tremendously make that decision. It's more of a simile. Let me go ahead and elaborate. Alright, here's that figure of speech. This right here is the equivalent of the Ferrari F8 Tributo, and this right here would be a Lamborghini Urus, right? And let me go ahead and jump into the details. The Galaxy Tab S8 will run you $699, and with that you will get 128 gigs base internal storage that you can actually expand. So you can expand that 128 gigs at up to 1 terabyte using a micro SD card. And that $699 will also include the native stylus. This is a Samsung S Pen, one of the best on the market. This tablet does not come with a charger, with a charging brick, right? So it does come with a cable, but you do not get a charging brick with that. On top of that, now Samsung offers up to 4 years of OS support and up to 5 years of security patches. Now, the iPad Air 5, on the other hand, will run you $599, and that's going to be just for the device. And if you want to go ahead and include a stylus, you know, the Apple Pencil 2nd Gen here, that's going to run you an additional $130 for a grand total of $730 for this package to match that of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 there. You do have 64 gigs of base internal storage. Unfortunately, you cannot expand that storage. So if you buy 64 gigs of the iPad Air 5, you just bought 64 gigs. That is essentially it. On the other hand, you do get the USB Type-C cable along with a charging brick. And of course, Apple will support this device at up to 5 years or even more like they do on some of their devices. So you do get a little bit longer support on the iPad Air 5 here. Now, let's go ahead and talk design. I'm going to put the styluses away here. Talking design here, it will heavily depend on your taste, right? Some people are just gonna like the iPad design and some people are just gonna like the Galaxy Tab S8. Now, as far as me, myself, I prefer the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 design, simply because it looks and feels a lot more premium. This is a little bit lighter. This guy here feels a lot more premium than the iPad Air 5, right? So you get the usual suspect, the same stuff you get on the iPad Air 5. So the volume rocker, fingerprint sensor, which also combos as a power button, right? So on here, it's at the top, and on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, it's on the side. And that is Touch ID, of course, on the iPad Air 5, which is very, very fast and very secure. The fingerprint sensor on the Galaxy Tab S8, I can't seem to be able to notice a difference, right? They're just that fast. They're really good for unlocking the tablet. Now, as far as authentication goes, so you can unlock using the fingerprint sensor, but on the Galaxy Tab S8, you can also use face unlock, and then you can use the passcode. On the iPad Air, you only have the Touch ID and the passcode option. By the way, I'm certainly hoping that you're enjoying the content so far. Please do me a favor, hit both the like and the subscribe button there. I truly appreciate that. All right, so you do get a quad speaker setup on the iPad Air, but unfortunately, those are not speakers, right? These are just grills, because you only have 2 speakers in here. On here, you do get a true quad speaker setup, and you actually do have 4 speakers on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 here, and sound quality is much, much better on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. Like, sound quality on the iPad Air is good, don't get me wrong, but just much better, crispier and fuller at the same time on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 here. And as I mentioned, both tablets do have USB Type-C port for data transfer. Now, when we look at either one of these tablets, you will notice that the iPad Air 5 looks a lot like the iPad Air 4. It's essentially the same tablet. And so does the Galaxy Tab S8. It looks a whole lot like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. I actually do have you can't even tell the difference. This is the S7 and this is the S8. So both manufacturers decided to just bring back that very familiar look on either one. Now, in terms of display here, let's start off with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. It is pushing an 11 inches display. This is kind of what I call the perfect size for most people, right? So 11 inches for a display here. The resolution here is 1600 by 2560. And of course, it does support high refresh rate at 120 Hertz, which, by the way, enhances the user experience by a whole lot versus the 60 hertz that you will get on the iPad Air 5 here. Now, this is a TFT display as opposed to the iPad Air 5 that actually boasts an IPS display, which technically is a better display. But when you put them side by side, you can't really tell too much of a difference. In fact, I would actually argue that this seems to pop a little bit more because Samsung tends to work on making sure that things are a little bit more, that the colors are a little bit more saturated, right? So colors are a little bit more intense, a little bit more vibrant on here. At least that's been my experience. Now, in terms of the resolution here, you get 1640 by 2360 for the resolution. And as I mentioned already, it's with a 60 hertz refresh rate. And the size of it is 10.9 inches. So fairly close to the 11 inches that you have on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, although it would look slightly smaller than the iPad Air, and that's of course because of the aspect ratio. On the aspect ratio on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 is 16 by 10, which again makes entertainment just a dream, right? It's very nice to play videos or play video games or watch videos on that display with that aspect ratio, whereas the aspect ratio here is 3 by 2, which doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily bad, but when it comes down to movies and things like that, an aspect ratio of 16 by 10 would be preferable because things are kind of like that wide screen, right? Whereas here, when it comes down to taking down notes and, drawing and all that stuff, the aspect ratio on here would actually be better than the aspect ratio on the Galaxy Tab S8, but it might just come down to preference, right? But if you were to ask me, I would definitely take the 16 by 10 aspect ratio all day. Now, either one of these tablets can actually be used as a secondary display. The Galaxy Tab S8 could actually go further and have its own display be extended, right? So you can actually have this as your main display and extend it to another display, whereas you can't do that on the iPad Air 5. Now let's go ahead and talk camera here. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 is going to be boasting a 13 megapixel wide and a 6 megapixel ultra wide camera. So that main camera module that you see on the back there is a 13 megapixel and a 6 megapixel ultra wide, whereas the iPad Air is boasting a 12 megapixel wide lens. And in my experience, the picture quality and video quality coming out of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 is simply better. It's simply better, hands down. That's just me. In terms of the front-facing camera, you will get center stage, or at least a feature that is like center stage on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. It's called auto framing, and on here it's called center stage. So that's that feature where the camera actually zooms out and adjusts to make sure that everyone is in the shot. It's pretty neat to have. So either one of these two has something like that, and the front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 is going to be a 13 megapixel ultra wide that can shoot 4K videos, whereas the camera on the iPad Air is a 12 megapixel ultra wide. Now let's go ahead and cover specs, performance, and productivity here. Starting off with the iPad Air 5 here, it is boasting Apple's M1 chip, which as you may know is a beast. So you have the M1 chip here coupled with 8 gigs of RAM. On the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, you have Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, also coupled with 8 gigs of RAM. So if either one of these two is pushing 8 gigs of RAM, but you have the M1 here and you have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 there. And again, the M1 chip is such a beast when it comes down to just raw power, right? So as you would imagine, that Qualcomm chip in the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 cannot keep up with the M1 chip found on the iPad Air. That being said, there's a caveat. Despite being one of the most powerful chips out there, the M1 chip that is found in the iPad Air, along with the one found in the iPad Pro, they are very limited by the actual software. So iPad OS just does not let that chip be as versatile, as powerful as it can be, right? Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, you can be as versatile as you can, which tracks back to the simile that I gave you at the beginning of the video when I was comparing both of these tablets, right? So I gave you the Lamborghini Urus and I gave you the Ferrari F8 Tributo here. And the reason I give that simile is just to kind of show the difference between these two, right? So the Lamborghini Urus, for example, is a very powerful car, which by the way, I was using this to represent that. So it's a very powerful car, 600 plus horsepower, versus the Ferrari F8 Tributo, which is also a very powerful, even more powerful than the Lambo Urus. 700 plus horsepower, so it can go way faster. But the problem here is that Ferrari is only 2-seaters, right? So you can only carry 2 people, and it could go really fast. But the Lambo, on the other hand, is a bigger car, could carry 4 people, up to 5 as a matter of fact, and it can even go off-road, something that the Ferrari cannot do. So if you just think about that analogy I gave you here, the iPad Air 5 is super powerful. It's going to render, it's a very focused tablet. When it comes down to that chipset, in terms of, rendering videos, there are a few things that when you put all of that raw power towards, it is really good at. So if you are doing a lot of video editing, right, that would be just so amazing to render videos on the iPad Air. Now, on the Galaxy Tab S8, you can also edit videos. It just won't render as fast as what you would be able to do on the iPad Air. The tablet itself overall is just very versatile. When it comes down to just productivity, you are going to be a lot more productive with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, especially when you take that Android 12, you have One UI 4.1, and then you have, of course, Samsung DeX, which literally turns that tablet into a mini computer, right? So when you have floating windows and toggling back and forth, having so many things running at the same time. So if you that type of person that is looking for that type of productivity, the Tab S8 is going to be the way to go. Don't get me wrong, Apple actually brought in some new stuff, with the latest iOS or iPad OS, right? When it comes down to just, the flexibility of multitasking, but it's still not anywhere near what is offered on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. Now, I have lingered a little too much on this particular segment here, so let's move on to the next point. Now, in terms of accessories, you do have official keyboards that would turn this thing into kind of a mini laptop, right? So you have the Magic Keyboard that you can use with the iPad Air 5 here, and that's going to run you, I believe, $300. And then you have the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 keyboard for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S, well, that is compatible with the Tab S8 here, that will also run you about $200. I could be wrong, or $180, I don't remember. In either event, you could find those used, whether for the iPad Air or the Tab S8 of like eBay or Amazon or whatever the case may be. So you could definitely turn either one of these tablets into a mini computer. When it comes down to battery, the Galaxy Tab S8 here is fast charge capable at up to 45 watt, but as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you do not get an actual charging brick, right? So you have to buy that separately, or if you already have one at home, then you can just use that. You only get the cable. The iPad Air 5, on the other hand, is fast charge at up to 30 watt, I believe. And with that, you do get a charging brick in the box. And depending on your usage, you may experience, or you may use this for the entire day without having any issues. If you're a power user like I am, I'm able to finish the day without any issues. So just put that on the charger at the end of the day. So it will depend on how you use your tablet. Now, the last point here, of course, would be the S Pen, and that will be the last accessory that I want to cover here. As I mentioned, you would have to buy this separately. That would be the Apple Pencil 2nd Gen. That's going to run you $130. The Samsung Galaxy S Pen here comes included, and in my humble opinion is the best stylus out there, simply because of the feel. It feels a lot more natural when you're used to it, anywhere from the tip of the pen as opposed to what you have here. The tip here is really hard, so when you hit on that display, if you've been watching the channel for a while, then you probably know where I'm going with this. That tapping sound, I do not like it, but here you have a soft tip. It's very, very nice to use for drawing, all that good stuff. The iPad Air, of course, 60 hertz refresh rate as opposed to 120 hertz refresh rate on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, meaning the user experience is just going to be much better by a mile. Using this guy here, there's no lag, there's no drag, as opposed to using this on the iPad Air, where you actually see that there is kind of a space between this and the actual writing or the drawing. But either way, they are very nice pen. But if I were to choose, I would definitely go for the Samsung S Pen that we have right here, especially because it comes with additional features, right? Some people think they're gimmicks, where you can use this as a remote, tap, all that stuff. It comes with all the features included here, along with a ton more features that are not included here. But anyway, here's my take. If you are in the market for either one of these two tablets and you are looking for something that would be focused, and let's say you do a lot of video editing, I'd say just go for the iPad Air. That would actually be the only time I would suggest you go for that, because that M1 chip will come in handy as you are editing videos and rendering. Rendering speeds, very nice on the iPad Air. Everything else, I just pick up the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. Let's say you actually even do edit videos, but on top of editing videos, you also do a lot of productivity heavy type of tasks. I would say go for the Galaxy Tab S8, to be honest, right? It's an overall better tablet. It provides fantastic value when compared to what is provided on the iPad Air, especially if you go for the iPad Air base version, which is, 64 gigs. So if you are really that productive, why would you pick something that comes with 64 gigs of internal storage? And the system would eat up some of that, right? Not only does it come with 64 gigs, but you're not even able to expand that storage, as opposed to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8, where not only does it come with double storage that is offered on the iPad Air 5 here, but it's also expandable. So you have 128 gigs, and you can even push all the way to 1 terabyte. So there's so many things going for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. So bottom line is this: Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 versus iPad Air 5, hands down, I would go for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8. But that's just me. I know this video is not covering every single detail, but let me know what your questions. If you truly are in the market and you have a genuine question that you want to ask me before making that decision, make sure to put that in the comment section. I'll get back to you, and hopefully I'm able to help you make that decision. But that was just my take. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm certainly hoping that you did. And if you know someone who would be interested in the video, make sure to share this video with them. Also, make sure to check out my other videos. I have tons of videos on tablets. I generally focus on tablets. So if you're looking for other tablets, make sure to check out the other videos that I have out there. Make sure to like, subscribe. Of course, I will catch you in that comment section. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. And of course, up until that next video, as always, stay safe out there.